Shinyama was cold. Shijio? Anything? His sound was actually very soft. Gu Shijio was now pleased. She thought that he still did not want to pick up her calls. It was good that he picked it up. She was prepared to fight a long battle with him. But after she heard his voice, she quickly took the chance to convince him. She coughed a little and tried to explain, Nienma. Suddenly, the directed audio spell was disconnected. All the words that Gu Shijio had prepared to say were stuck in her throat. She looked at the disconnected note in stunned silence. Why was it disconnected? Was it broken? She could not help but check the directed audio spell. However, she did not find any problem. She thought for a moment and dialed again. This time, the spell did not even connect. But just when Gu Shijio thought that the other party would not pick up, he finally picked up, but this time, he was a lot colder. What do you want? Gu Shijio was speechless. She rubbed her eyebrows and finally realized. Fooey, why are you looking for me? Are you going to confess your feelings? Shinyama was obviously frustrated. Gu Shijio asked, Did you hear those rumors already? Rumors? Are you referring to rumor about you running to Mount Wujia to find me? And that you want to eat fresh grass and want to stay with me? That you want to take care of me like a precious baby? Shinyama went quiet for a while. Gu Shijio was not sure if he was happy or upset. All she could tell was that he had heard. Most of the words spoken were her own. It was his big mouth. Gu Shijio tried to cool down and speak sincerely. In fact, I said those words to make your master angry. They were not true. You can rest assured that I have absolutely no feelings toward you. You are still young, and I am not a pervert. Even if you were an adult, I have no interest in you. I just want to teach you and help you develop. I do not have any selfish intention. If she could have a video call with Shun Yinma, Gu Shijio would definitely let him see the sincerity in her eyes. There was a moment of silence, followed by a chuckle. What you said is all fake. She could not hear the anger from his voice, but Gu Shijio rubbed her forehead again. That was to make your junior female apprentice angry. So they were just nonsenses, but have created such a big discussion in the town. She did not expect that it would be the topic of the day in just a night. I am sorry. Gu Shijio sincerely apologized, whether she did it deliberately or not. She had caused trouble to the other party. Why did you say sorry? Shinyama's tone was unpredictable. This time, my anger has caused trouble for you. Rest assured, I will find the right time to explain the matter in public, to let everyone know that I do not want to eat fresh grass. Gu Shijio guaranteed. To get this boy to meet her objective, she could do anything and really put down her status to apologize. There was no sound at the other end. Gu Shijio felt that it was difficult to get her message across through the directed audio. She asked, Fooey, where are you? I want to see you. Let's meet and talk. I have nothing to say to you. Don't look for me again. I'm not interested in accompanying you or learning from you. He hung up the directed audio spell. Gu Shijio was speechless. She felt that it was indeed big trouble for her now. Gu Shijio never thought that it would be so hard to train someone. She sat there for a moment and then dialed back unrelentingly. She dialed a dozen times in a row, but he did not pick up any of her calls. Apparently, the kid had made up his mind to ignore her. Little Tsang, can you tell me what should I do next? Gu Shijio knocked on the bracelet on her wrist. The firmament stone had been strangely quiet recently. It was as if each word uttered out of its mouth was worth gold. In the past, it always liked to nag around her ears, but lately, it seemed like it was running out of battery. Even on the rare occasion that it did speak, it kept its explanations brief. Master, you can do it. TSK. If the other party did not buy in at all, well, she could do. She could not kidnap him and forcibly teach him martial arts, right? This kid was very rebellious. Even if she captured him, if he insisted on not learning or practicing, she could not do anything. She could not put a knife on his neck and force him to practice, right? Little Tsang, I want to give up. Gu Shijio was a little bit depressed. Master, don't. It was rare that this time the firmament stone actually talked more. You can do it. There is nothing you can't solve in this world. This should not beat you, right? Master, think about Mr. Huang too. His resurrection is totally dependent on you. Gu Shijio lowered her eyes. Yes, she did for the sake of Huang too, the person who had been good to her wholeheartedly. For his resurrection, this was totally worth it. She finally regained her spirits. She first looked at the Muscle and Lu Wu, who were eating the food in front of the table. After these two beasts sent the kids back home, according to her instructions, they came back to look for Gu Shijio. To reward them, Gu Shijio had ordered a table full of food that were their favorite dishes. The Muscle liked to gossip. While it was eating, it was also listening to Gu Shijio. At this moment, it interrupted. Master, what is so difficult? You should just break into the clan of Master Fengxing and catch that little guy. You can keep him with you and slowly teach him. Never let him go if he is not willing to learn, and only release him when he is willing to learn. Lu Wu shook its tail. Yes, Master, let's do this. It would be more straightforward to do it this way. Gu Shijio took a breath, and she tapped the table with her fingers. All right, if it does not work through the soft way, we try the hard way. Gu Shijio and her two beasts sounded like a group of bandits that were about to commit a crime. The firmament stone was speechless and raised its objection. I am afraid that it would not work through the hard work for this guy. Master, have you ever heard the saying, suffering makes people grow up, and their ups and downs make them more aggressive? The life of Fui is too smooth now. You might as well create some trouble for him. Let him try to solve it. Since he does not want to worship you as a teacher and doesn't want to let you teach him martial arts, then you just be his opponent. A decent opponent can also force him to grow up. This was a good idea. Gu Zijia's eyes lit up. She raised her hand and tapped on the firmament stone. Little Tsang, you are a genius. I will try to persuade him once again. If it's really unsuccessful, I will just become his biggest rival and give him a lot of hard times. Do you want to persuade him personally? Do you know where he is? I know. If I estimated correctly, he should be in the Fengyun Valley of Master Fengxing. I think he is now attending the reception feast of his new junior apprentices. Gu Shijio had such speculation because she had faintly heard some voices and noise during the conversation with him earlier. Shin Yinma was indeed in the Fengyun Valley, and indeed attending the feast. Although Master Fengxing did not have many disciples, the ones he had were all elites. Although Master Fengxing did not have many disciples, they were all notable elites. Each of them was much older than him. The youngest one was still 10 years older. Guan Jinhua, who took him into the valley, was a beautiful girl who was 28 years old. Guan Jinhua was very talented in medicine. She was already famous at a young age because of her charm and personality, which was lively and bold. She was the favorite disciple of Master Fengxing, as well as the sweetheart of her senior brother disciples. Many would start falling in love around this age. Hence, there were plenty of senior brother apprentices always around her. However, given the strict rules of Master Fengxing, no one dared to make a move on her and claimed only to be protecting her. They were willing to wait for the time when she completed her studies so that they could start pursuing her. Guan Jinhua naturally understood the minds of her senior brother apprentices, but she never revealed anything to them and enjoyed the attention she received. She seemed to be sweet, but also ruthless to everyone. This made the unmarried brothers restless and even more interested in her. Although Guan Jinhua liked being wooed by the male apprentices, she had never been impressed by anyone. She always felt that these brothers were still not worthy of getting her. She even thought that no one in this world could deserve her until she met Shin Yinma. He was only a 6-year-old child, but he had the most charming looks, especially when he smiled. Guan Jinhua simply could not resist. She spent time with Shin Yinma, but quickly realized that he was not as enthusiastic as the other senior brother apprentices. Instead, he was somewhat cold to her. Nonetheless, she was attracted to him. She felt that every single move he made was perfect. It undoubtedly made her heart skip a few beats. Of course, she did not dare to reveal her feelings. She worried that if she got rejected, she would not even be friends with him. Thus, she preferred for them to remain as good friends. Although Shin Yinma was the youngest among them, he still did not recognize any person as his senior apprentice. He would only do so if they had more exceptional abilities than him. Shin Yinma's knowledge in the field of medicine was unparalleled. None of his seniors could match him. Hence, after a round of trials, Shin Yinma had become the senior brother apprentice of these people. Tonight, It was the initiation banquet thrown for Shun Yinma. The tables were full of wines and dishes which included material from the sea, the sky, and the land. Each dish was highly nutritious and useful for improving one's spiritual power. Everyone around the table laughed and cheered through the lively and crowded night. During the party, some people talked about the gossip that they had just heard. Apparently, Master Fengxing had received a letter from spiritual Master Yu Hang to warn him about the mysterious grimace-faced woman. Initially, the people were still doubtful of the rumors, but now, after their master received the letter, they naturally believed it. The reaction from the audience was somewhat mixed. Though they felt it was rather laughable, they were also infuriated by the news. How could an older woman fall for a 6-year-old kid? It was really inappropriate. Shin Yinma was no ordinary kid, though. He had a unique identity. He was the son of the Divine Lord and the Great Devil. Both spiritual Master Yu Hang and Master Fengxing valued him a lot. They certainly could not let anything bad happen to him. They could never explain it to his parents when they returned. Therefore, they were extremely concerned about his affairs. Master Fengxing looked at Shun Yinma and asked him, "Yinma, is spiritual Master Yu Hang correct? The mysterious grimace person transformed into a little girl to get near to you? She even wanted to join spiritual Master Yu Hang's apprenticeship and be your sister apprentice?" Shin Yinma was stunned, but did not deny. Yes. Master Fengxing looked at Shun Yinma rather seriously. This new disciple seemed too enchanting and attracted people of all ages. How does she look like? One of the brother apprentices was curious. I heard that she looks ugly and that people can't even differentiate if she is a man or a woman. Really? I heard that the little girl she transformed into was stunning. That is an illusion. Naturally, it will look beautiful. However, it is not her true appearance. I heard that when she appeared in her real identity, she would always wear a scary mask and refuse to reveal her face. She must be ugly. It's hard to say. Perhaps she is a beautiful lady. Guan Jinhua, who had been quietly listening, could not help but laugh. She must be ugly. Her tone was filled with an air of arrogance. All eyes fell on Guan Jinhua, waiting for her to explain. Guan Jinhua smiled. I am a woman, so I understand women. If a woman has an attractive appearance and is also talented, she will not hide her original appearance. Why would someone hide their beauty? Trust me, if she is a beautiful lady, she will definitely try to let people see her face. It was apparent that Guan Jinhua was describing herself. Every time she went out, she showed her authentic appearance. She would also dress beautifully because she liked the feeling of being praised. It made her feel like a princess. It was said that women knew women best. After Guan Jinhua explained her thoughts, more than half of the people present believed her words. Some people could not help but make fun of the grimace-faced woman. Perhaps there is chicken skin and hair behind her mask. It is possible. Someone then asked Shun Yinma, eldest brother apprentice, have you seen her original appearance? Is it scary? Shin Yinma had been sitting at the table and drinking quietly. When he heard the question, he faintly glanced at the person who asked it. It is not scarier than your face. The man had a big head and small body. His facial features were also rather flat, and his lips were unnaturally prominent. He looked quite like a caveman. He could often scare people when he went out. Hence, Shin Yinma definitely struck a sensitive spot which made the man speechless. Guan Jinhua was excited, but this reply. She chuckled and added, even if she does not look scary, it must be true that she is not beautiful. Shin Yinma raised his hand and drank from his glass of wine. He spoke rather calmly. She is more beautiful than you. Guan Jinhua was speechless. What he said had hurt her pride. Everyone remained silent. They were surprised that he defended the mysterious grimace person. Master Fengxing looked at Shun Yinma in deep thought. When he was about to ask something, the directed audio spell beside Shin Yinma's waist lit up. Shin Yinma was holding his glass of wine at the time and sipped it slowly. However, when the directed audio spell lit up, his fingers went stiff and some of the wine spilled out of his glass. He immediately put down the glass and said, "Excuse me." He turned around and went out. He seemed to dash out of the room. Everyone looked at each other in surprise. When Shen Yinma first arrived, he was always calm and quiet. This was the first time everyone saw him being so hurried. Guan Jinhua bit her lips and pondered for a moment. After a while, she turned around and went out. She saw Shen Yinma standing at the corner of the hall, holding a device in his hand and talking to someone. His voice was clear and sounded explicit joyful. There was candlelight shone on his body, exposing his tall and straight figure. Because the chatty voices behind Huan Jinhua, she could not really hear what Shen Yinma had said. Hence, she could not help but walk 2 steps forward. From a closer distance, Guan Jinhua managed to capture a bit of the conversation. She faintly heard Shen Yinma said, "You don't have to look for me again. I'm not interested in accompanying you for the mission." Then, Shen Yinma hung up the call and turned around. He saw Guan Jinhua standing not far behind him. The atmosphere around him was cold. When he stared at her, Guan Jinhua felt like a glass of ice water drenched her heart. She was nervous and smiled awkwardly. "Senior brother apprentice, who is it?" Shen Yinma stared at her. "Do I have a duty to tell you when I talk to someone?" His words were piercingly cold. Guan Jinhua remained silent. She had been walking along with Shen Yinma and stayed by his side the whole day. He was quite a gentleman to her all the while. However, in such a short period, he had been rude to her twice. Her self-esteem was a little bit hurt. When she wanted to say something more, Shen Yinma had passed her and entered the hall. This young man was in a bad mood. Why? He looked rather pleased when he received a call via the directed audio spell. Why did his mood change so fast after a few minutes of talking? Who was the other party? What did they talk about? Shen Yinma was such a good person. The woman who chased after him must be more than the fishes in a river. Who could disturb his emotions so much? There were many questions in Guan Jinhua's mind, but no one could answer them aside from Shen Yinma. The banquet was supposed to run until late into the night, but Shen Yinma excused himself, telling the rest that he was tired. Hence, he left the hall in advance. Since he had left, there was no reason to continue to the party. Therefore, Master Fengxing pondered for a moment and then asked Guan Jinhua to stay and dismiss the rest of his disciples. Master Fengxing asked Guan Jinhua about what happened when she picked Shen Yinma up. Guan Jinhua had stayed in Mountain Wujia for a day, so she had heard some gossips. She heard about the story of Ren Chongsheng and Shen Yinma rescuing the young children. Qing Luo brought it up when they casually chatted. Qing Luo had always disliked Ren Chongsheng, so when she talked about it, she added a lot of exaggeration that was unfavorable to Ren Chongsheng. At that time, Guan Jinhua felt that Ren Chongsheng was a cunning girl. However, when she knew that she was the mysterious grimace person, she added a lot of other unfavorable things when she storied to Master Fengxing. The more Master Fengxing listened, the tighter his eyebrows knitted. As far as he knew, although this mysterious grimace person was not very close to the people in this world, she was still very powerful. She had never failed to get what she wanted. If she really had an eye on Shen Yinma, it was going to be very troublesome. It was rare for Shen Yinma to skip practice and lay down in bed leisurely. The directed audio spell in his waist still lighted up once every few seconds. Apparently, that person had not given up on him yet and still tried to convince him. He closed his eyes, did not want to pick up. It was meaningless to pick up. He knew that the conversation would be still the same as what they had talked about previously. In fact, he did not know what feelings he had towards Gushijio. When she wore her mask, he had been tortured by her before, and he seemed to hate her. However, she was also Ren Chongsheng, as well as the big sister who sent him home when he was a kid. Over the past few years, there were many women around him who fancied him. However, he had never had any feelings towards them and did not even care about them. But the 3 women who Gushijio transformed into gave him different kinds of feelings. He instinctively wanted to get close to her and wanted to hold her hand. He wanted to hug her, even when she was with him. He would be inexplicably excited, and there was a desire from his body. Although Shen Yinma was only 6 years old, his body had already grown entirely as an adult, and his attitude was also like an adult. He naturally understood what this desire meant. However, he did not know why he had this feeling for her. He hoped that she would care for him and like him. He was excited just thinking about her. However, this good mood disappeared after receiving her directed audio, as he found out that he was only part of her mission, and she just treated him as a child. It was hard to imagine that someone like her would pick up such a task. Who was the person who gave her the task? Who could influence her to train a young kid? Which bastard dared to push her like this? He looked at the spell, and it finally stopped flashing. It seemed like she finally gave up. He was relieved and disappointed at the same time. He was lying on his side and pondered about the situation. Based on Gu Zijia's character, she had not given up yet. She would definitely try to find him. This thought gave him mixed feelings. He felt that he did not want to be found by her, but actually hoped that she would come. He rejected her purely because he wanted her to understand that he did not want to be part of her mission. Obviously, Shen Yinma was in a dilemma now. She was much older than him. In fact, it seemed that she was of the same generation as his parents. Although she could probably be able to train him, it was actually quite annoying that she continued to look for him just to complete her mission. However, he could not let her go even though he did want to be involved in any romantic relationship so early. He suddenly remembered the flower bouquet that was thrown when his parents got married. At that time, the flower bouquet was accepted by Gu Shijio, and Gu Shijio had accidentally hit him with it. Yi Tianli had joked with him and said that it was the start of his life of romance. He did not understand that during that time. Now, when he recalled this, he was a bit shocked. Was it true that he was fated to be with Gu Shijio? Was she his better half? Shen Yinma was shocked by his own thoughts. Another directed audio spell at his waist suddenly lit up. His heart moved. He picked up, and a voice came from the other side. Brother Fui, I have traced the place where the young palace master stays. The sun was warm. It was the most vibrant moment in the morning. Generally, when someone wanted to stay hidden, he or she would choose to move around at night. It was the best time for sin. As everyone knew that thieves had this inclination, many secret places were not allowed to be visited and had tighter security at night. This time, Gu Shijio went against the norm. She chose the most unlikely time to kidnap someone from the Fengyun Valley. It had been 2 days since she talked to Shen Yinma. The reason why she did not come on the same day was that she felt that she had to leave some time for Shen Yinma to reflect on matters. After all, he just entered the apprenticeship, and there were many things to be processed. The second reason was that she felt that her face was not as thick as she thought. She wanted to calm her mind to make sure that she had the right attitude to come. After all, after she came to see the little guy, things would not go as smoothly as she would prefer. The little guy would undoubtedly reject her, so she had to try to convince him. If he insisted not to go with her, she would just take the idea of the muscle and kidnap him. There were various security mechanisms in the Fengyun Valley. They were all designed by the most powerful mechanism expert of this continent. Without the lead by people inside, the average person would definitely not able to come in. However, Gu Shijio was no average person. Those mechanisms could not stop her at all. Thus, in less than half an hour, she had entered into the Fengyun Valley. When she was about to ask the muscle to find Shen Yinma, she was surrounded. Those people emerged from all sides. Gu Shijio stopped. She had very sharp eyes and was able to recognize the 10 leaders of the group. They were the previous, current, and future masters of Shen Yinma. Shen Juli and his wife had left the mainland for something. They were worried about their son, so before they left, they found these 10 masters for their son. During Shen Yinma's birthday, Gu Shijio hid in the dark and saw Shen Yinma meeting with the 10 masters. Afterward, she also investigated these 10 masters. They were the best leaders in the upper bound and had achieved outstanding achievements in one aspect. Up to now, Shen Yinma had trained under 2 of these masters, Spiritual Master Yu Hang and Master Fengxing. He had not gone to the other 8 masters yet, but somehow the 10 of them had appeared together. There were men and women, old and young, ugly and handsome. The 10 people had clearly coordinated to ambush Gu Shijio. They had sealed all the possible exits. You came. This was the first sentence that Spiritual Master Yu Hang uttered. Pridefully, he continued, I had guessed correctly. Master Fengxing looked like an angry pug with a deep hatred toward Gu Shijio. I have heard that you actually like a kid and might come to kidnap him. At first, I didn't really believe it, but now it seems that it is true. I don't think you are young anymore. You should be much older than Shun Nianma. Why would you want to be so stubborn? Nianma is not the one for you. You appeared at the birthday party of Nianma, so you should know his true identity. Is it because of his parents that you want to be with him? Let me tell you that the Divine Lord and the Great Devil would absolutely forbid someone to scheme their son. Yes, although they are not there. He has us here, and we will never let you touch Nianma at all. You have been traveling on this continent. Although you have been masked and do not let people see your true face, you are still very famous. Before this incident, everyone paid a lot of respect to you. Why would you be obsessed with him and destroy your own reputation? Gu Shijio remained quiet while the 10 masters had accused her and threatened her. Gu Shijio simply folded her arms and listened silently. There was a mask on her face, so everyone did know what her expression was. They could not even guess her thoughts by just observing her posture. Gu Shijio was very well-mannered. She did not like to interrupt when someone was speaking. However, when she stood there coldly, she emitted a faint aura which made people feel cold. Have you all finished talking? After they uttered their opinions, Gu Shijio finally opened her mouth. If I tell you that I have no intention to court Shin Nianma and just want to complete a task to help him practice, will you believe me? Huh? Someone laughed, and it was not only one person who sneered. There were elites from all clans who formed a circle not too far away to surround her. I think you're trying to give an excuse because so many people have surrounded you. Where is the courage you had when you were rude in Mount Wujia? Many people heard what you said there. You can't deny it. It was Qing Luo's voice. Gu Shijio was able to spot her at a glance. She had a noticeable smile on her face. Gu Shijio had saved this little girl's life. She was so envious that she did not even appreciate the kind gesture. When I said that in Mount Wujia, it was just to piss you all off because of the nonsense that you accused me of. None of it was true. Gu Shijio explained lazily. Everyone obviously did not believe her. Someone asked, "Can this matter be discussed so freely? If you have no such ambiguous intentions for him, why did you transform into a little girl to stay by Nianmo's side? You even wanted to join the apprenticeship of spiritual master Yuhang just to be with him. When you reached Mount Wujia and found that Nianma was not there, you immediately refused to worship your master and left promptly. You have now even secretly sneaked into the Fengyan Valley. Evidently, you are here for Nianma. How do you explain all these facts? As I said, I only want to help him to practice until he becomes a mighty immortal. I am here to accelerate his progress." Haha, do you mean to take him as your disciple? Why not? This was actually her plan in the first place. Nonsense. If an elder wants to accept him as a disciple, why would he or she put in so much effort? Obviously, you're trying to quibble since you are surrounded. Yes, you are right. She is trying to quibble. This woman's intentions will never be so simple. And her background is also very strange. She does not even dare to reveal her true appearance and always hides behind a mask. She must be hiding an ugly face. Is she a follower of the biggest enemy of the Divine Lord, Luo Jiuchen? Is she trying to catch Nianma to take revenge? It is possible. There were different opinions thrown around, and the entire situation grew more complicated. It sounded more and more like a conspiracy. These people were generally stubborn, so it would be hard to change their minds. Anyway, they were trying to find fault with her, so whatever she said would always be misinterpreted. Gu Shijun naturally understood this theory, so she did not want to explain herself. In the past few days, she had been hiding in anger. However, after listening to these people, she felt that the entire situation was overblown. Thus, she decided to resolve it once and for all. She flicked her nails and said lazily again, "It seems that no matter how I explain, you will think that I like Nianma, a young kid. Well, since you all have thought so, if I don't admit it, it would be a waste. I will announce it here. I will definitely want Nianma in the future. I will take him to my side as a young husband. I will let me be the king of my clan." This stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Her rebellious words had shocked everyone. There were curses and jeers from the crowd. There were numerous criticisms and condemnation towards Gushijio. When a muscle listened to them mocking its master, it almost went crazy. However, when Gushijio and Shun Yinma were in the tree palace, Lu Wu and the muscle were sending the children back home, and they were not by her side. Furthermore, when Gushijio said those angry words in Mount Wujia, the muscle and Lu Wu had not returned yet, and they did not know the real situation. Therefore, it did not dare to interrupt. Mir sat there red-faced. Its clamshell continued to open and close. It could not wait to swallow all these people in front of it, so that they could not make any more noise here. When it heard these people claiming that Gushijio was ugly, it finally broke out. Nonsense. You're all talking nonsense. My master is the most beautiful lady in the world. She is even more beautiful than all of you together. Do you think she is eager to marry? Let me tell you. People are queuing up to marry her. Open your blind eyes and look properly. Master, take off your mask and show them your true appearance. I'm sure they will be shocked. Certainly, nobody believed what the muscle just said. Hence, it received a wave of mockery in return. Of course, there were those who supported it too. Siqing had a very complicated feeling, as he initially had a special feeling toward Ren Chongsheng. However, she suddenly turned into a secretive masked character. In fact, he could not accept it. Hence, he decided to hide in the crowd and watch the scene. However, while listening to all the curses, he could not hold back anymore. She is not ugly. She was gorgeous when she was Ren Chongsheng. Without any surprise, he got mocked by the crowd. Do you think that is real? Everyone here is immortal, and we know how to disguise ourselves. Hence, it cannot prove anything. She should show her true appearance if she has the guts. Yes, spiritual Lord Yunlong is an expert of disguises, and he can differentiate if it is genuine. Is she willing to reveal her true appearance? Knock, knock. The arguments halted when the sound of 2 knocks was heard. It was not very loud, but it sufficed to catch their attention. Everyone quickly shifted their gaze to the direction of sound, only to find that Gushijio was leaning against the muscle, and she was knocking on its shell with her knuckles. Do you really want to see my appearance, or you are afraid of me kidnapping the little boy? Do you really think it is meaningful to argue over this? The crowd went silent. Gushijio crossed her arms in front of her chest. Stop bullsh *ting. Just by looking at your drama, I'm sure cursing me is not enough for you. Just tell me what you want and stop wasting my time. She started to blast the crowd, and her aura was so much stronger than the 10 clan masters. Apparently, she was running out of patience. Gushijio was the one and only person who could remain calm even when the 10 clan masters surrounded her. All their disciples were extremely angry, yet they also respected her. The 10 clan masters tried to catch her with many different strategies. Even the Celestial Emperor, who was once the god of warriors, did not even dare to simply fight against the 10 clan masters, as he used to pay very high respect to them. Yet, although 10 clan masters surrounded Gushijio, she did not bother to compromise. All 10 clan masters were stunned by her arrogance. However, they were not afraid of Gushijio since they were well prepared before they came. Thus, they proposed a few conditions. Their terms and conditions were extremely harsh. They wanted Gushijio to promise that she would never see Shun Yinma for the rest of her life. Otherwise, she would be arrested and imprisoned for a few hundred years until Shun Yinma turned into an adult or until he becomes a mighty immortal or a great deity. Gushijio simply smiled. She hated to be threatened even as a child. What more when she was so experienced and powerful now? Oops, I cannot do that. I want him to be my husband. How could we not see each other for the rest of my life? I cannot promise you those terms. The crowd remained silent. In other words, the negotiation failed. Therefore, the 10 clan masters decided not to be courteous anymore. They moved to their respective locations and surrounded Gushijio once Master Fengxing signaled them. A battle was about to start. It seemed inevitable despite spiritual master Yu Hang trying to negotiate with Gushijio as a way to repay her kindness before. I don't think you are an evil person. You saved my disciples before, and I am grateful. Why do you need to be so stubborn? Listen to me. Stay away from Nianma. Gu Shijio interrupted him with a hiss. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about it. I was just being kind, but I did not expect to save an ungrateful person. I'm so upset now. Right after she said she was upset, she suddenly teleported. When the crowd managed to locate her, she was already beside Qing Luo. Qing Luo did not manage to see Gu Shijio clearly, but only felt a sudden gust of wind blowing at her. Abruptly, she felt a sharp pain at her fingertip, as if she was bitten by something. She screamed and immediately pulled her hand away, only to find two tiny holes on her fingertip with pinkish blood dripping off her finger. Cherry blossom snake. She was bitten by a cherry blossom snake again. She felt pain in every part of her body to the extent she had cold sweat dripping from her forehead. Eventually, she felt numb and started rolling on the ground in agony. Everything happened too quickly. No one expected that the Grimace Lady could escape from the traps set by the 10 clan masters and even hurt someone. By the time they were ready to react, it was already too late. The 10 clan masters were trying to stop her from escaping. Most immortals had the habit of escaping by air. To their surprise, she teleported downward and succeeded. Spiritual Master Yuhang immediately leaped down to the ground. He quickly checked on Qing Luo and furiously glared at Gu Shijio. What did you do? Gu Shijio flicked her fingernails. I was the one who helped her to remove the venom, but I regret it now. So, I'll let the snake bite her again. I guess we do not owe each other now. I would not feel upset if she attacks me now. Spiritual Master Yuhang was speechless. The crowd also remained silent. Right at that moment, a red light flashed across the sky. A creature with 9 glowing red tails appeared in front of Gu Shijio. Its big watery eyes were adorable enough to seduce anyone there. Yes, it was Lu Wu. Report to Master. I've searched every single corner, but Shun Yinma is not in the valley. It was only then that the crowd realized that Gu Shijio had got Lu Wu to search the place when she first arrived. The reason she was willing to talk so much to the people was just to wait for the news from Lu Wu. Since Shun Yinma was not there, she would leave empty-handed. She felt somewhat disappointed by the result because she allowed herself to be mocked by the crowd earlier. Gu Shijio thought that her day was ruined. Her head tilted downward, and a sword immediately appeared in her hand. The sword was cold and sharp as if she was holding an ice sword. You 10 old jerks, come on. Let me teach you a lesson today. Certainly, Gu Shijio had spiced up the anger of the crowd. Therefore, a fierce battle had begun. The battle between Gu Shijio and the 10 clan masters would be recorded in the scroll of history. It was named as the Book of Legendary Immortals. According to legend, the battle lasted for a day. The 10 clan masters used all of their knowledge and skills to catch the grimacing woman. However, they still did not manage to get her, even though the entire Fengyun Valley had been destroyed. However, no party was completely dominant. Each of them suffered their losses. The mask of the grimaced woman was shattered during the battle, which exposed her true appearance. According to the record, the person was beautiful and had long black hair with gorgeous features. Many of the people were shocked and stopped fighting when they saw it. Gu Shijio was injured in the battle. In fact, she was severely injured. She spat blood out of her mouth, but still laughed creepily as she flipped her long hair. Old jerks, I want Shin Yinma, and he'll definitely go after him. We will see how it ends. A mouthful of blood spilled on her sword. After chanting a series of spells, the sword was glowing brightly. She leaped up into the air and disappeared instantly as the sword scratched the wizardry barrier. Gu Shijio was not a lunatic. She knew it was not a good idea to fight against so many experts and their disciples. Hence, she tried to teleport away from the battle. However, she was blocked by the wizardry barriers in every direction. While battling with so many of them, Gu Shijio also tried to figure out an alternative plan of escape. Eventually, she figured out the key to her escape and successfully teleported away in the blink of an eye. It'll return. It'll be back for what you owe me. Everyone was in stunned silence. The grimacing woman managed to escape from the great battle, while 2 of the 10 clan masters were severely injured, and 3 of them had some minor injuries. The rest had a few bruises on their face. Master Fengxing suffered the worst losses. He was not only injured but also lost his home. Furthermore, many of his disciples were hurt. The biggest disappointment was that they did not manage to catch her even after paying such a high price. They definitely had to expect chaos in the future since Gu Shijio managed to escape. Most of them were amazed by her beauty. Hence, they were all discussing it while trying to tidy up the mess. Without any surprise, everyone naturally fixed their gaze on spiritual Lord Yunlong, as he had a pair of eyes which could identify the authenticity of all magic. It was not magic. Her appearance was real. That was enough to keep everyone quiet about her looks. In fact, thousands of people will be lining up to see her if she would take a stroll without her mask. Why does she have to hold on to Shinyama? Was it true love? Or did she truly need to complete her mission just like what she mentioned? Perhaps she was instructed by someone else, but she could not disclose the truth. However, since she had such mighty kung fu, she might not even want to entertain the divine couple. Who else could be the culprit? Countless questions were lingering in their minds. Since Qing Luo was bitten by the snake again, all the disciples of spiritual master Yu Hang decided to wrap her with a big bag as the poison was spreadable. Unfortunately, they could only get her soaked in ice water because no one could cure her. Since Gu Shijio escaped, spiritual master Yu Hang quickly left. After Gu Shijio left, spiritual master Yu Hang immediately visited Qing Luo. From afar, he could hear her screaming in pain. She screamed and shouted desperately, like an animal. He was a little embarrassed by her dramatic reactions, but he would not give up on his disciples so easily. So he decided to consult Master Fengxing, who was an expert in medicine, about the cure. Helplessly, Master Fengxing frowned at him. "I am afraid that there is no cure for this sort of poison." Spiritual Master Yu Hang was shocked to the core. Si Qing suggested, "There is. When both of us were unfortunately affected by the cherry blossom snake poison, it was Chong Sheng, the mysterious grimace woman, who saved our lives." Master Fengxing frowned. He had heard about them being affected by a kind of poison and that they were fortunately cured, so he did not pay much attention to the details of the incident. He only thought of it as a normal type of poison. Little did he know that it was actually the cherry blossom snake poison. The main problem is the base of the cure. The cure must be made from the poison of the particular snake itself. The cherry blossom snake is a rare species, so it is difficult to be captured. The chances of survival after the hunt of the snake are very slim. Moreover, it is so rare to find. How are we supposed to collect the snake and make the cure? Once you are bitten, death is but a sure thing, he answered slowly. Spiritual Master Yu Hang's expression changed upon hearing his explanation. He took a look at Qing Luo, who was critically ill with a faint breath of life. Her breathing was slow and painful due to the immense pain. Suddenly, he was lost, not knowing what to do for her. Si Qing was shocked too. He then took a small bottle out and said, "About this, it is a bottle of poison given by our eldest senior disciple last time. I think there should be some remaining. I wonder if we can still use it." Master Fengxing immediately took the bottle from him and observed it closely. It is usable. The content is, however, too little. It is only enough to make half a portion of the cure, he swiftly concluded. Half was better than none. So Spiritual Master Yu Hang earnestly requested for him to make the cure as soon as possible. The urgency to rescue a life was similar to that of firefighting, where every second counted. Hence, Master Fengxing did not delay the rescue. He took the bottle and was ready to proceed. All of a sudden, there came an announcement. The eldest senior apprentice is back. Master Fengxing's expression changed a little. Just recently, they had been busy plotting against the mysterious woman. They kept the plan away from Shen Yinma, as they were worried that he might stop it. Therefore, Master Fengxing had to play a trick by falsely announcing the whereabouts of the young palace master, so that he could send Shen Yinma away. In fact, he sent him away to the third heaven. The distance from his place to the third heaven was thousands of miles apart. Even with Shen Nianmo's speed, he would only be able to make it back in at least a day. In the morning, Master Fengxing had even chatted with Shen Nianmo about his situation and found out that he was still wandering in the third heaven while busy looking for the whereabouts of the young palace master. However, on the very same day, it seemed that Shen Nianmo was back. Someone must have notified him. Otherwise, he would not make his way back so quickly. Spiritual Master Yu Hang looked at Si Qing with stern but suspicious eyes. It was I. I told the eldest senior apprentice that the mysterious grimace woman was here, he nervously confessed. Spiritual Master Yu Hang was frustrated with Si Qing. He wished he could slap him for his ludicrous mistake. The battle was already over. There were many ruins left behind by the violent fight. Blood could be seen everywhere. It was not hard to imagine how difficult the battle must have been. Shen Nianmo's face turned pale. His fingers trembled in anxiety. Luckily, he found out that Gu Shijiu was not vitally harmed from his junior apprentice's excessive discussions about the battle. She was only severely injured. He tried to calm himself down. With his directed audio spell, he decided to get in touch with her by making a call. The directed audio spell flickered continuously in his hand, but no one picked up. Anxiously, he continued to make many calls, but the result remained the same. The calls were unanswered. Was she unconscious due to the severity of her injuries? Did she lose the directed audio spell in the batter, or did she destroy it? Shen Nianmo took a deep breath. Then, he pulled one of his junior apprentices aside and demanded a detailed description of the battle. Tell me everything about the situation from the moment she arrived. The more details, the better. The junior was a quick-witted man with an unfailing memory. Every time he told a story, it was always very lively and vivid, beguiling his audience with many tales of adventure. He was an honest storyteller without many additional dramatic elements. He would retain the originality of his stories. He had the worst kung fu among the group, so he did not get much attention from his master. Moreover, Shen Nianmo's endless charm had completely sheltered him in the shadow. The eldest senior was always the center of attention wherever he went. Many juniors liked to surround themselves around him. Ever since Shen Nianmo came to the Fengyun Valley, the junior had only managed to greet him once. Surely, he did not expect that Shen Nianmo would still remember him by calling out his name. He was obviously very excited. Enthusiastically, he told Shen Nianmo the entire scene from the moment Gu Shijiu arrived at the battlefield. He even used his hands to make lively gestures. From his memory, he was able to recall every detail of the fight and every conversation that happened. It was as though everything was happening again. Shen Nianmo listened carefully without making any interruptions. Certainly, his junior felt a little awkward when he had to convey what Gu Shijiu had originally said during the battle. Her words, after all, would come as an insult to a man. Moreover, Shen Nianmo was a proud man with high dignity. When Shen Nianmo heard what she had said, he did not show any unpleasant expressions. Instead, he gave the junior a smile. For sure, the junior could not figure out how he truly felt. Men were obviously more interested in fights. So when his junior talked about the fight scenes, he sputtered on with very lively gestures. Every punch and every kick from different sides were described entirely from his point of view, giving Shen Nianmo a very clear picture of how the battle was like. While Shen Nianmo was busy listening to his junior's description, he would still try to activate the directed audio spell in his hand. Obviously, he was eager to get in touch with someone. Unfortunately, he received no response. The junior was bewildered by the lack of response, for he could not figure out who would dare to disrespect the eldest senior. When Master Fengxing approached them, the junior was already ending the story by quoting what Gu Shijiu said at the end. "I will be back to make you all pay the price." The junior's tone sounded exactly like her. When he turned around, he was shocked to see his master standing behind him. Master Fengxing looked very unpleasant. His deeply knitted brows had created deep creases on his face. The junior retreated anxiously and greeted him before leaving swiftly. Master Fengxing turned his eyes to Shen Nianmo to study him. At this moment, Shen Nianmo was lying on the trunk of a tree. He neither greeted nor said a word when he saw Master Fengxing approaching. Instead, he only gave him a scornful smile. The sheer force of character from the child of 6 years old was very dominating, powerful enough even for Master Fengxing to notice his imposing manner. Moreover, he was guilty of lying to the young man. Nianma, why did you come back so early? Don't you think that you have kept me away in the dark long enough? Shen Nianma said firmly, with a smirk on his face. He did not even acknowledge him as his master this time. Nianma, I had to, it was against my will. Your parents have entrusted your safety to us. The mysterious woman bore no good intentions. I had to send you away, so she would not have the chance to kidnap you. Master Fengxing remonstrated kindly. Shen Nianma could not hold back his amusement. Why did you have to make it sound so pompous? You invited all the other masters to launch an ambush together. How awesome was that? She came alone and walked single-handedly into the battle. Even if I were present in the Fengyun Valley, how would she possibly kidnap me? Were you not confident of your ambush or in me? Master Fengxing remained quiet. He was indeed not confident enough in Shen Nianma, for he was worried that he would be charmed by Gu Shijio and walk away with her willingly. Nianma, Master Fengxing struggled to find his words and was interrupted before he could continue. Master, please help me to invite all my masters. I have something to say. He hesitated, but still did as told and sent his men to invite the masters. Out of the 9 masters, 2 were severely injured, but Master Fengxing had treated their injuries. Walking around would not come as a significant problem at this moment. The Fengyun Valley was very much destroyed. Almost all the buildings there were ruined. Therefore, all of them decided to gather around at the plaza. Only 3 out of all 10 masters had personally met Shen Nianma, so it was the first time for them to see his face. When Master Fengxing introduced him to the masters, they were utterly surprised that he looked like an adult. One of them had even called out his nickname. Mr. Fui. The master had an encounter with Shen Nianma before, during an exploration. They spent about half an hour together, but Shen Nianma never revealed his real identity and announced his name as Mr. Fui instead. After the encounter, the master was planning to befriend him. Little did he know that Mr. Fui would become his future disciple, Shen Nianma. At present, that master had mixed feelings about the situation. Nianma, all your masters are now present. What would you like to say? You may now speak, Master Fengxing finally said. All eyes were on Shen Nianma. His eyes swept across all his masters and commented, I would like to express my gratitude for your tireless effort. Having said that, he bowed before them. The 10 masters stared at each other in dismay, obviously at a loss for words. Spiritual Master Yu Hang had been guiding him for the past 3 years, so he spoke up, Nianma, you should address us as your masters. Shen Nianma looked at him fixedly and commented with a half-smile. Chill. This is also the thing that I am about to bring up today. Utterly surprised, Spiritual Master Yu Hang could sense that something was not right. Nianma, what are you trying to do? All of us are your father's friends. We are also your masters, assigned by your father himself. Master Fengxing continued. Shen Nianma raised his hand and said, nonchalantly, My elders, please listen to me. The crowd went silent. Shen Nianma continued, Have you all accepted me as your disciple because of my parents and my name? The crowd said nothing. They were willing to break their rules by sharing their disciple with other masters because of his unique identity, the son of the celestial and demon beings. Having Shen Nianma as a disciple was definitely an honor, for he was endowed with intelligence and wit. Nianma, it is not only because of your parents. We know that you are unusually intelligent, a gifted talent who learns quickly, Spiritual Master Yu Hang explained. Are you treating me as a child? About that, Nianma, you're only 6 years old, Spiritual Master Yu Hang continued. Do I look like a 6-year-old? Shen Nianma asked smilingly with his head tilted to the side, waiting for an answer. About that, Shen Nianma continued coldly, My father turned into an adult at the age of 1 and started traveling the world. When he became the Divine Lord, Did you treat him like a 1-year-old? Unable to find the words, spiritual master Yu Hang did not answer. He had briefly heard about the story of the Divine Lord, but he did not know how old he actually was when he started traveling around the world, for he never mentioned his age. Surely, without the knowledge of his actual age, no one would treat the Divine Lord like a child when he possessed the look of a grown-up. Xin Yinma was very capable. He started building up his fame at the age of 3. The continent was well aware of his presence, even though many people had heard about him as Mr. Fui. Spiritual Master Yu Hang watched as the child grew up, so he would always see Shen Yinma as a child. All of you have treated me differently, because I am Shen Yinma. You have disregarded how I really am and treated me like a mere child by making every decision on my behalf. But I am who I am. I have my own ways and principles. Also, I certainly do not want to be interrupted by anyone of any means, including the lies that you make to keep me in the dark because of your personal intentions. From now on, I am Di Fui, not Xin Yinma. The disciple that you want to keep is Shen Yinma, so it has nothing to do with me anymore. Therefore, I no longer wish to visit and accept your teachings. By the way, what I have with the mysterious woman is between us. Do not get yourself concerned. It is none of your business. All of them were utterly shocked. Yinma, spiritual master Yu Hang, started to panic. Call me Di Fui. Shen Yinma gave him an icy look. That is only your nickname, not your real identity. You are the son of the Divine Lord. How can you change your surname? It is considered as sacrilege. My father does not even bother about it. Why should you interfere? You cannot do so. I am sure the Divine Lord will never approve of it. Spiritual Master Yu Hang tried to persuade him. Di Fui continued scornfully, approving or disapproving. It is a matter between us, father and son. So, it certainly has nothing to do with you. All right, that is all that I want to say. Take care. He turned and left. Nianma. They tried to call him back, but he never looked back. Master Fengxing could not help but loudly demand, Fui, you are doing so because you are indignant at the siege that we have plotted against the mysterious woman, aren't you? Without even looking back, Di Fui stopped and answered sternly, about the siege of 10 masters against a woman, is it really something to be proud of? The masters remained quiet. They would never work together for an ambush, but today was an exception. Fui, you do not know about the origin of the woman. I am sure she harbors evil intentions. Also, she bears extraordinary kung fu, almost as good as your parents. When a woman like her tries to get her hands on a child, we cannot sit and wait for it to happen. We do not want anything to happen to you. We had to do what we did, Spiritual Master Yu Hang explained. Fui, the woman is truly mysterious. What if she is the descendant of Luo Jiuqin? She is not. Di Fui interrupted. Hesitantly, Master Fengxing continued. Fui, you may know one's appearance, but you may never know one's intentions. You are too young to understand that one's heart is incomprehensible. We have to protect you against the woman. She has a dubious background and excellent kung fu. Do you really fancy her? Di Fui surprisingly turned around and gave him a tight smile. What if I really do fancy her? Both Master Fengxing and Spiritual Master Yu Hang panicked. No way. You are not good together. Did the child really fall for the old woman? Although the old woman was exceptionally beautiful, their age gap was too large to be ignored. Nianma was only 6. Good or not, we shall decide it on our own. It is not up to you to decide. She will never be true to you. She must have evil motives. Di Fui responded with a smile and said something even more surprising. Even if she really has evil motives, I insist that I must marry her and make her my wife. Di Fui gave no further attention to the people, who stood frozen, not knowing what to do. He summoned his ride and left. He had to go looking for Gu Shijio, the woman who once said that she would kidnap him and make him her husband. He was desperate for them to get married right away. He was young. There was no rush. Additionally, she was old enough so the marriage could wait for a few more years. We traveled the world as Mr. Fui, He had made many friends from many different regions and industries who had different capabilities. Some of them were excellent at finding people. When he found out that Gu Shijio was severely injured and could not reach her, he quickly made contacts with a few of these people, so they could help search for her. With her injuries, she would not make it very far. She was probably hiding somewhere odd to treat her wounds. He believed that he would find her in no time. To his dismay, he received no news about her even after 3 days. All his friends had searched every corner in the Fengyun Valley, covering the area as wide as they could. They only managed to find a small piece of cloth and a pool of dried-out blood on the floor in one of the caves in the snowy mountain. She was nowhere to be seen. On the mountaintop, Di Fui held the piece of cloth tightly in his hand. He studied the blood and realized that it must have been spat instead of dripped. He could also tell based on the clues left behind that she had been lying down on one side. He could tell that her injuries were severe, as she could hardly sit. Obviously, she once took a rest here. The signs were left behind just 3 days ago, and based on their observations, she must have stayed for less than an hour before she left. Why was she in a rush to leave, even with the severity of her injuries? What happened? Di Fui was unable to contain his curiosity that burned like a raging wildfire. He pinched his lips into a tight line and started searching for more clues. "There is nothing else, brother. We have searched the entire place," his friend told him. Di Fui said nothing more and continued his search in the cave. Later, he extended his search outside the cave. Suddenly, an idea came to him. He took out the directed audio spell and tried to contact her once more. His eyes swept across the area and found something. He leaped and dug up the snow. His fingers froze at sight. There it was, a dark red directed audio spell covered in the snow. It was the directed audio spell that she used to keep in touch with him. He did not know that she had left it behind in the snow. No wonder that he could not reach her. The directed audio spell used to be in a pale color, but it was covered in too much blood now. Even the snow had been stained. Did she leave it behind because it was too filthy? Fui, we have checked all the rides and carriages that have passed through the sky above the Fengyun Valley for the past 3 days. None of them was the one that you were looking for. Another report came. She was so severely injured. If she wanted to leave, she would have to take a ride or a carriage, but her whereabouts were unnoticed. How did she leave the place, then? Brother Fui, would anything happen to her while she was here alone? A man voiced his concern. The place was rather deserted. Many beasts surrounded the mountains. If they came spotting the sign of her blood, she would not be able to defend herself. She could have ended up being a meal. No way. Di Fui interrupted. He had spent some time with her to know very well about her temperament and her agility. In times of danger, the woman was good at forcing her way out. She could always come out with many surprising ideas. With her extraordinary capabilities, she would not possibly end up being a meal of some random beasts. The real question was where she went. Di Fui clenched his fists in frustration. This woman had sent him into difficult situations many times. She only treated him as a target of her mission, but on the contrary, she started the rumors herself and ruined his innocence by spreading the false news publicly. His close friends, who knew him as Shun Yinma, started to joke around by calling him her little husband. They even proceeded to ask how he felt about it. He did not feel anything particular about it. However, he was confident about one thing. Since she had made the announcement so publicly, he should turn the rumors into a reality. She had to learn her lesson that words had power. If she said something irresponsible, she had to be responsible for the consequences. The directed audio spell at his waist lighted up all of a sudden. Di Fui picked it up and heard the news from the other end. Brother Fui, there was a carriage that entered the residence of Long Sai, who is known as General Biao Qi, a few days ago. His place has been enforced with restricted entries ever since. Di Fui heaved a sigh of relief. He had placed some men at different places where Gu Ziji's friends lived. They were requested to report at once if there was any news at all. Gu Shijio was indeed severely injured, mostly internally. Some of her organs were greatly affected. She tried very hard to hide her pain in front of her opponents. However, after a few rounds of teleportation, she started to suffer from blackouts and was too weak to tell which direction to go. She could only try to stray as far away from the Fengyan Valley as she possibly could and ended up on the mountains. Once there, she could barely hold herself together and spat a few mouthfuls of blood. She wanted to get in touch with Long Sai and ask for his help, but she did not have the strength to retrieve the directed audio spell. Unsteadily, she stumbled and staggered at length into the cave. She wanted to meditate but could not even sit up straight. She had to lay herself down on the floor to catch her breaths. The Muscle and Lu Wu were very worried about her condition, but none of them had any medical knowledge to offer their help. In the mountains, the beasts roared and billowed, but they could not get any closer, for the Muscle and Lu Wu were constantly guarding the place. Gu Shijiu planned to stay for a while to meditate until her condition became better and at least to regain her strength. However, the severity of her injuries was beyond her expectation. After half an hour of rest, she still could not find the strength even to sit up. She tried to swallow some medicines that were made for fast recovery. She thought she could at least sit up when the medication took effect, but none of them worked. Chapter 1998. Gu Shijiu could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she could not suppress it. She knew she must not delay her treatment any longer. She had to find someone she could trust to help her with her recovery. Otherwise, she would lose her life in the wilderness. She thought about Long Sai and wanted to get in touch with him for his help, but she could not find the directed audio spell in her storage bag. She must have lost it during the violent fight. It probably slipped from her bag when she took her weapons out. Therefore, she could only approach him personally. Lu Wu offered its help. "Master, I will carry you there." The Muscle disagreed. "Silly, our master can barely hold herself together. I should take her in my shell, and you can carry us both. It is you who wishes to get a free ride, right? Why do you have to make it sound like master needs it?" Lu Wu disdained the idea. Weakly, Gu Shijiu tried to stop them from arguing. "We cannot go by air. There will surely be interceptions. Muscle, please carry me away via ground drilling." All the masters had suffered a significant loss in the Fengyan Valley. Certainly, they would send out their men to hunt her down. Therefore, ground drilling was the only way out. However, there was a long way to go. With ground drilling, they could only make it to Long Sai's place after 5 or 6 days. Her treatment could not be delayed for that long. Therefore, Gu Shijiu proposed another idea. The Muscle would carry her to the 7th heaven. From there, Lu Wu would camouflage into the appearance of a horse and carry her all the way. The Muscle's ground drilling had reached a high degree of technical proficiency. It could dig its way down without leaving any signs behind. With their level of kung fu, the Muscle and Lu Wu would not leave any traces behind unless they did it on purpose, which explained why Di Fui failed to find anything. Long Sai had been very busy for the past few years. He used to be the leader of a clan. Even with his memory erased, his instincts remained, so his people skills came in handy. Not only did his kung fu increase tremendously, but he was also promoted to an even higher social rank as well. He was already a general now, the right-hand man of the Emperor Immortal. As a general, he surely had many men, so he could always receive the latest news. He had undoubtedly heard the news about Gu Shijiu in the Fengyan Valley in Mount Wujia. He knew that Gu Shijiu successfully escaped, but was injured and that her whereabouts were unknown. He was concerned with her well-being, so he tried to call her many times via his directed audio spell, but she never picked up. He had also sent many secret agents to find her. However, 3 days went by, but no news came by. The skies were already dark. He was circling his room restlessly like ants on a hot pan when all of a sudden, a black carriage landed in his backyard. The carriage looked somewhat odd, and not just because it was entirely black. Even the horse pulling the carriage was black. Many guards were protecting the area of his residence. The sudden emergence of a black carriage would certainly catch their attention. Therefore, they surrounded the carriage and started to interrogate. They could not hear any sound from the carriage. It was in complete silence. Instead, the magical horse started communicating. "I hereby request to see General Long. An old acquaintance of his is here to visit." The guards had seen many magical horses before, but they had never met such an arrogant one. The leader of the guards stood in its way to stop it from getting another step closer to the hall. Meanwhile, he sent his men to tell Long Sai of the incident. Long Sai went to check the situation as soon as he heard about it. Upon seeing the carriage, he was a little confused, for he could not recall whose carriage it was. The magical horse seemed to be relieved to see him. Before he could ask, the horse started asking him for a favor. "General Long, please send your men away." Long Sai was astonished. His men, however, refused to back down. "General, I am concerned that the intruder bears no good intention." Long Sai dismissed his concerns swiftly. "There is nothing to be worried about. I have a grasp of the situation. You may leave now. Spread no word about what happened tonight. If anything goes out, you are responsible for it." The leader of the guards was puzzled, but he could never go against the general's command. He took the order and left with the rest of his men. Long Sai turned his attention to the carriage and asked gently, "Shijio, is that you?" The carriage answered, "Overlord Long, you are a smart man." Then, Long Sai watched as the carriage changed its camouflage and turned into a mussel of pale pink color. The mussel, with the look of an adorable child, fixed its hopeful eyes on Long Sai, as though a lost child who had just found a policeman. "Overlord Long, please help my master. She needs you." It then opened its shells, exposing Gu Shijio. There she lay, looking as pale as a white paper. Her breathing was weak, and one could easily tell the severity of her injuries. She forced a smile when she saw Long Sai. "Long, Instructor Long, save me." Long Sai started to tremble in immense anxiety. After all stresses and strains, he finally put Gu Shijio in his private room. Long Sai had checked her pulse and noticed that many of her organs were not functioning well. Her injuries could not simply be undone. If the same injuries happened to a normal celestial being, he or she would be long gone. Gu Zijia's strength and advanced spiritual power had kept her alive until now. Moreover, she had also taken some pills to help her survive, which was why she was still conscious after 3 days without any help. Her face, however, was ashen. After examining the severity of her injuries, Long Sai was even more worried. The golden splitting spell caused the injuries that she suffered from. It was a potent spell that could cause maximum harm to its target. The golden splitting spell was an exclusive technique from spiritual master Shanjing. Once hit, the spell would cause the victim's organs to become liquefied and melt away into a pool of blood. It was strong enough to cause severe injuries even to Gu Shijio, who had always been strong and tough. Spiritual Master Shanjing was really a hermit who had always been hiding away in solitude. It came as a surprise to Long Sai that he was also one of the members of the siege. The spell required an exclusive cure, which could only be made by Spiritual Master Shanjing. Otherwise, the affected organs would never be able to recover. On the contrary, they would become even worse as time went by. Gu Shijio knew that her injuries were one of a kind. She saw Long Sai's nervous expression, which basically confirmed her assumption. Can my injuries be cured by the Triumphant Recovery spell? The Triumphant Recovery spell was a special recovery spell that could heal any internal or external injuries. Gu Shijio was the one who taught Long Sai about the spell, so she knew that he could help her. The spell would require both of them to work together, which was why Gu Shijio was in such a hurry to see Long Sai. Long Sai seemed quite unsure about the idea. He began to speak, then hesitated. Gu Shijio continued, "No worries. Tell me how bad it is." Long Sai knew he could not hide the truth from her, so he told her about the severity of the golden splitting spell. Gu Shijio had not met many people from the upper bound, so she certainly did not expect that the spell would be so harmful when Spiritual Master Shanjing attacked her. Even Long Sai was aggrieved at the violence. I have heard about Spiritual Master Shanjing. It was said that he is a man of great generosity and charity. I had even thought about befriending him when the opportunity came. To my dismay, he is actually a hypocrite. How could he act so violently toward a woman like you? Gu Shijio heaved a sigh. Oh, I see. The tall man is actually Spiritual Master Shanjing. Actually, he suffered from severe injuries too. Spiritual Master Shanjing was a really tall, broad-shouldered man that served as a huge contrast next to Gu Shijio. During the fight, Gu Shijio wanted to hit him at his leg with resentful kicks, but she missed and hit his private part instead. His facial expression changed abruptly. He could not help but call her a monstrous girl. Cold sweats broke out when he quickly retreated. Then, he hit and injured her with the spell. The rest of her injuries were not complicated to heal. The only thing that left Long Sai helpless was the golden splitting spell. He took out all of his finest medicines to let her try them, but she refused. Instructor Long, your medicine is not as good as mine. The medicines will not work. We should try the triumphant recovery spell first. Long Sai clenched his fists in indignation. I will go and ask for the cure from the old man, Shanjing. Gu Shijio shook her head in disapproval and said, he will not give it to you. They are hunting me as well. Gu Shijio knew how bad the kick was. If she were not mistaken, spiritual master Shanjing would experience erectile dysfunction for the next few centuries. Spiritual master Shanjing must be very desperate to torture her to the core. Why would he even offer the cure? Furthermore, if Long Sai really went to ask for the cure from him, her hiding place would be exposed. They would definitely find her in his residence. These people wanted to lock her up in their cage. She certainly would not let their wish come true. Long Sai could not think of any other ways. His medical knowledge came from the books given by Gu Shijio, so what he knew surely would not be any better than what Gu Shijio knew. Without a choice, he could only do as told. The effect of the triumphant recovery spell was really strong. However, it would require both the healer and the patient to sit in two separate wooden tubs. The tubs would be filled with liquid medicine and aligned next to each other. They would connect their palms and channel their power individually. Furthermore, both of them had to be naked in order to perform the spell. If she had a choice, she would not put Long Sai into the embarrassing situation to perform the treatment for her. Long Sai did not want to delay the treatment anymore. He quickly ordered his men to prepare the herbs. The preparation was rather troublesome. The process alone took 3 hours. In order to prevent any possible mistakes, he had to examine the ingredients personally to make sure they were the finest. When everything was thoroughly prepared, it was already midnight. A big wooden tub was carried into the private room. It was filled with translucent blue bubbles. The herbs tossed and turned in the tub, following the flow of the bubbles. Long Sai was a gentleman. He knew that Gu Shijio could hardly move, so he sent 2 female servants to the room to help her undress. Then, he planned to enter another room where the other wooden tub was placed. After he soaked himself in the water, 2 female servants would come and carry the tub away to place him in her room. The tubs would be put next to each other. He had thought things through. There should not be any error. However, to his surprise, an unexpected guest arrived. Just before he started to undress, a servant came reporting, General Long, Mr. Fui is here to visit. Long Sai's fingers froze as he heard the news. Long Sai had certainly heard about Mr. Fui and even thought about befriending him as well. But what he did not know was that Mr. Fui was actually Shenyama. It was the middle of the night. What was the man doing here? Normally, Long Sai would meet and welcome his guests as soon as he could, especially if someone honorable came to visit. However, he could not leave Gu Shijio alone at this critical moment. She needed him to keep her alive. He gave an order to the servant. Tell him that I am occupied at the moment, and ask him to come back 3 days later. The servant acknowledged and swiftly left, but he returned a few moments later and reported. General, he said he has something urgent. He needs to see you now. Long Sai was obviously annoyed. I'm not seeing him. Go away. He would not even meet the Celestial Emperor, even if he were here now. The servant was shocked and left. This was the first time for the servant to experience such great frustration from his master. He turned around and almost bumped into another man. He took a few steps back and acknowledged, Fui. Mr. Fui. Mr. Fui only gave him a soft smile and patted on his shoulder. You may leave, he reassured. Therefore, the servant left with a clueless look. Long Sai noticed the chaos outside and was irritated. Soon, the doors were slammed open. A man dressed in a purple robe entered with heavy steps. Why did General Long keep me at a distance? What if there were urgent military situations that require your immediate attention? The pearls in the private room shone brightly, bright enough for Long Sai to see his face clearly. It was their first encounter, but he felt a strange sense of familiarity when he saw Mr. Fui. What surprised him more was that he felt a sense of precaution and hostility towards a man he had never met. He could tell that Mr. Fui's kung fu was extraordinary. He was at least at the level of a golden immortal. He retained a strong aura in the room. Long Sai could not help but feel a little intimidated. Mr. Fui, why are you here in the depth of the night? I have an important matter to attend to, so I really do not have time to entertain you, Long Sai explained calmly. He was concerned that the man's spiritual power was much stronger than his. Otherwise, he would have kept the man out of his residence by force. Are you eager to attend to someone else's treatment? Caught by the surprising question, Long Sai stood frozen. He could not figure out Mr. Fui's purpose of visit or his identity. He would not tell him about Gu Zijia's injuries until he had a better idea. What if Mr. Fui was actually one of the opponents who hunted for her? What if he was with the group of the 10 masters? Gu Shijio was right in the room, separated only by a door panel. The intruding guest would find out about her whereabouts very easily. Long Sai took a deep breath, then offered, "Shall we talk about this outside?" He had to get the man away from the room. The wooden tub caught Di Fui's attention. General Long seems to be in a good mood for a midnight herbal bath. Is that true? This is how I like to meditate. Please excuse me. This is not the place for a proper talk. Let us go outside, Long Sai offered again, while intentionally blocking the entrance. There is no need for that. I am here to look for someone. Di Fui tried to look behind the closed doors that were blocked behind Long Sai. There seemed to be some movements in the room. Was General Long going to have his bath together with a woman? It did not seem so. As far as he was concerned, Long Sai was a very disciplined man. He did not have a wife nor a concubine. He did not get close to his personal female servants as well. Who would the woman be? Long Sai sensed that something was not right and quickly changed the topic. Are you looking for? I do not have many people in my residence. Follow me, and I shall call them out to let you see their faces one by one. That is unnecessary. She should be here. With a flash, Long Sai could barely see as Di Fui passed by him quickly. The next thing he knew was that the door was slammed open. Everything in the room could be viewed. Long Sai was facing the outside, so he did not see what was going on in the room. Di Fui was already behind him, facing directly inside the room, so he had a clear view. Long Sai wanted to turn around and see what was really happening, but Di Fui obviously disapproved. He then moved very quickly behind him and gave him a strong push. Di Fui was too quick. Though Long Sai was generally known for his inexhaustible agility, he was nothing compared to Di Fui. He stumbled across the corridor as a result of the momentum of Di Fui's push and almost hit a pillar head-on. Even with the virtue of patience, Long Sai could no longer hold his frustration. Bang! He heard a loud noise and turned quickly around, only to notice that Di Fui forcefully shut the doors again. Di Fui stood, blocking the doors. There were some doubts in his eyes. What are you planning to do, Overlord Long? Di Fui then saw that Gu Shijio had been completely undressed, lying naked on the bed. The visual impact was too much for the young adult. Di Fui did not fix his eyes on her for long. Immediately, he looked away and shut the doors to prevent Long Sai from seeing her naked. Di Fui was still an innocent and unsophisticated young man. He knew about these things, but seeing the naked body of a woman was really something else. The visual impact was intense. His heart throbbed in response. Even with a quick glance, he clearly saw how bad Gu Zijia's complexion looked. She was severely injured, but still remained conscious. She wanted to pull the blanket across to keep her body covered. However, her strength certainly did not match her intention. She saw him too. Their eyes met for a brief moment. There was another wooden tub in the room, braving the air bubbles. It looked just the same as the wooden tub outside. The liquid medicine in the tubs was the same, too, both dark green in color. Di Fui had privately carried out a thorough investigation about Long Sai, so he knew that he was not an evil man. Long Sai certainly did not prepare the tubs for a bath, knowing how severe Gu Zijia's condition was. It must be a way to treat Gu Zijia's wounds. Di Fui was smart enough to work out the entire scheme of the treatment process, but he did not feel comfortable about it. He had always thought silently to himself that he would make Gu Shijio his wife someday. He was, however, still an innocent virgin. Seeing her naked body for the first time had certainly shocked him to his core. He felt enraged at the thought of Long Sai seeing the same view he did. On the other hand, Long Sai was deeply upset that Mr. Fui was looking at Gu Shijio naked. He could safely assume that Gu Shijio was already naked on the bed. Even as Gu Zijia's closest friend, he had never seen her naked before. He used to have the initiative to befriend Mr. Fui. At the very moment the idea was tossed away. His only wish now was to get rid of the man. You have intruded my residence and forcefully opened the door to my private room. Do you really think you have a right to ask me what I am about to do? Long Sai clenched his fists. He was ready to fight Di Fui if necessary. However, Di Fui gave him a surprising announcement. I am her fiancé. The sole purpose of my visit is to find her. Long Sai stood in disbelief. Nonsense. We have known each other for many years, and I have never heard about her fiancé. Di Fui gave him a profound look. He knew that they had known each other for a very long time. When he was still a baby, he saw them before, enjoying the view of lanterns together. He heaved a sigh to dismiss the sudden realization. Gu Zijia's injuries required immediate attention. I am Shen Yinma. Di Fui decided to enlighten him with another shocking announcement. She has publicly declared that I am her fiancé and we will soon be married, he said confidently. Long Sai did not know what to say. He was speechless. He had heard about the rumors, but never actually cared. He liked Gu Shijio, so he would pay attention to the men or even friend around her. He would take precaution against the previous prince, Yin Yanli, but certainly not Shen Yinma, who would pay attention to a child of 6 years old. Therefore, he disposed of the rumors with a sneer, for he knew that Gu Shijio was not serious about it. She only said it to trigger the people. However, upon seeing the handsome man, whose face was intricate and beautiful, Long Sai could not look at him in the same way anymore. Aren't you Mr. Fui? How can you be the prince, Shen Yinma? Long Sai could not process what we heard. When Di Fui traveled the world, he preferred to keep his parents' identity concealed. He did not want others to find out who he truly was, so he had to use a nickname. He wanted to conquer the world with his own 2 hands, so he would not expose his identity in public. However, his identity was not important anymore. He did not want to argue with Long Sai any further about who he was and where he came from. Instantly, he revealed the bracelet. The glass dragon bracelet shone brightly under the luminescence of the pearl in Long Sai's residence. Mr. Fui is the name I use to travel the world. Long Sai felt an impulse to back off. During Shen Niamo's birthday, he was there as a guard. He was not entitled enough to enter the hall, but he had certainly heard about the bracelet that was given to the little prince, a bracelet that he was unable to take off ever since. There were great artists at the birthday party, so they immediately put the view of the bracelet down on paper. Long Sai had seen the drawing before. It looked just the same as the one Di Fui currently wore. He really was Shen Yinma. Long Sai did not know what to feel. He did not know enough about what happened between Gu Shijio and Shen Yinma, but he was sure about one thing. Her words were only said in a fit of rage. She did not mean any of it. Long Sai took a deep breath before clarifying. It is a misunderstanding. What Shijio has for you is only friendship, not love. She probably said so because of the rage triggered by your fellow masters. She did not mean any of the things she said, so you should not be concerned. If there were any inconveniences caused, we shall explain the situation to your masters when she gets better. Di Fui looked at him fixedly. We will figure it out between us, so there is no need for you to be concerned. About her injuries, there is no time to delay. Are you sure that you want this conversation right now? Long Sai was anxious, too. I was about to carry out the treatment for her. Had you not interrupted, we would have already started. Di Fui was curious about the 2 wooden tubs. How are you going to carry out the treatment? What is up with the 2 tubs? Long Sai frowned. He would not usually make any explanations to anyone about what he did. He certainly would not feel like explaining himself to a man who claimed to be Gu Zijia's fiancé. Di Fui insisted on getting to the bottom of the matter. If Long Sai refused to explain, he would certainly not let him carry out the treatment for Gu Shijio. Also, Long Sai could not kick the young man out of his house, for he was more powerful than him, both in terms of physical strength and social rank. Without a choice, Long Sai had to tell him. Long Sai started by telling him the general issues of Gu Zijia's injuries, including the proposition that she made about the treatment. Di Fui did not interrupt Long Sai. Once finished, he gave him 2 options. The first option was a fight. Whoever won would be the one carrying out the treatment for Gu Shijio. The second option was a voluntary withdrawal. Long Sai would stand away and guard the doors while Di Fui carried out the treatment for Gu Shijio. Once it was done, he would then visit spiritual master Shanjing to ask for the cure for her complete recovery. Long Sai was outraged. Either way, Di Fui would end up being the one carrying out the treatment. He tried to reason with Di Fui. Your Highness, the steps of the treatment are extremely complicated. I cannot explain everything briefly in plain words. Her injuries are too severe to allow any mistakes. If you really want the best for her, let's not have this argument at this critical moment. He was sincere to resolve the complication, but Di Fui remained unshakable in his determination. Don't worry. You only have to tell me the correct steps, and I shall be sure that nothing will go wrong. Your Highness, I have decided. Long Sai did not know what to do. He took a few breaths while finding the right words to say. I believe that you really like her. Why are you risking her life? Di Fui hugged his arms and said nothing more. He continued to glance at Long Sai coldly. Apparently, he would not back off. Long Sai continued scornfully. It seems to me that you do not really appreciate her. After all, Di Fui looked away and answered coldly. You have mistaken. I never said that I like her. However, if she is claimed to be my fiancée, I will be sure to take care of her innocence. I will not allow another man to see her naked body. Long Sai was speechless. Frustrated, he had to set the matter straight. She will explain the situation to you later. I will wait for her explanation, but before that, I am the one who treats her injuries. Long Sai could not say anything more. There was no time to lose. He had to agree to let Di Fui carry out the treatment on his behalf. However, he did have one condition. Zijia's injuries cannot be delayed any longer. You have to learn the steps in half an hour. If not, I will do it myself. I cannot watch as she dies. All right. Di Fui agreed swiftly. The treatment required the use of spiritual power, so the steps were very complicated. He had to master the use of spells and the level of strength of his spiritual power. Long Sai knew about the treatment from the medical books given by Gu Shijio. He took approximately 10 days to get a grasp of the concept and a month to understand it fully. However, he had never executed it. When Long Sai explained to Di Fui, he purposely talked and acted swiftly. He wanted to make Di Fui realize the difficulties that lied in these complicated steps so that he would withdraw from it. After his explanation, Di Fui began to demonstrate. All his steps were correct, seemingly smoother. Long Sai could not help but think that he must have learned these steps before. However, if he had, an arrogant man like him would not have wasted time listening to Long Sai's explanation. Therefore, he must be scarily smart. Long Sai did not know what to feel. After the demonstration, Di Fui asked, how was it? The steps are correct, but it is not easy to handle the different strengths of your spiritual power. Things could go wrong very easily. Di Fui interrupted. If you have taught me right, I will make sure nothing goes wrong. Long Sai was still worried, so he requested for another demonstration. Di Fui had to tell him when and how to use he would use his spiritual power. Di Fui gave him a frustrated look. Then, he agreed quietly and started to perform another demonstration. As a result, his second demonstration went even smoother than his first attempt. The use of spells was better. Moreover, the handling of his spiritual power with different strengths at different times was quite brilliant. Under the circumstances, Long Sai could not argue with him anymore. In a whirl, Gu Shijio felt quite disoriented. She tried her very best to stay awake. When Di Fui came, she did not notice his presence due to the constant drumming in her ears. Moreover, she kept suffering from blackouts, so she had to utilize all her strength just to stay awake. Earlier, the female servant only acted according to Long Sai's orders to underdress Gu Shijio quickly. What happened outside of the room was not her concern. However, the servant had certainly heard Di Fui, but she thought that the unexpected guest would not intrude, so she continued to undress Gu Shijio, piece by piece. All was good until Di Fui pushed the door open. The servant was utterly surprised. She was trained not to scream out of fear. However, overwhelmed by the shocking moment, she forgot to put some covers on Gu Shijio. She stood frozen until the moment Di Fui shut the door again. Only then did she realize the awkwardness of the situation and quickly covered up Gu Zijia's naked body. The surprise entry brought some senses back to Gu Zijia's whirling mind. When she saw Di Fui at the door, she felt deeply offended. Her blood was boiling, changing her pale complexion to a bit pinkish. She could not help but curse in her head. She heard about the conversation between Di Fui and Long Sai, and she did not know whether to cry or to laugh at the dumbfounding matter. She could not reach the child when she needed him most. For a few times, he refused even to pick up his directed audio spell, causing her the trouble at the Fengyun Valley. Finally, the child approached her first this time. When Di Fui offered to carry out the treatment, Gu Shijio disagreed to the idea, but she could hardly voice her opinion. She tried very hard, but only managed to groan very weakly. They could not hear her, for sure. She listened as the conversation came to an end. Then, she heard Di Fui telling Long Sai to go away. "You should leave," he said. Obviously, the prince was about to undress himself. He did not want Long Sai's company. Without a choice, Long Sai had to leave. He told the servant in the room to help Gu Shijio get ready before he left. "Your Highness, whenever you are ready, I shall move the wooden tub into the room for you. There is no need for that. I have my own ways. You only have to guard the door." Di Fui answered coldly. Long Sai left abruptly. A few moments later, Gu Shijio heard Di Fui asking, "Is everything ready?" The servant was busy carrying Gu Shijio. She tried to place Gu Shijio securely in the wooden bath. "Done. I am done," she answered. The door was once again open. In a blur, Gu Shijio could see beyond the steam that a wooden tub was moving into the room, as though it had wings. Swiftly, it placed itself next to her tub. The tubs sat adjacent to one another. Soaked in the water, they sat facing each other too. Their eyes met, and Gu Shijio could feel her heart throbbing. Her heartbeat slowly increased. It was the first time for her to see Shan Ninma half-naked in his adult body. Di Fui's black hair was nicely tied and secured with a jade hairpin. A butterfly-designed mask covered his face, leaving only his faint red lips and clear black eyes exposed. His body was completely soaked in the water full of herbs, revealing only his shoulders. His skin was soft and smooth, but this fact did not diminish his masculinity. His toned physique added nobility to his figure of perfect elegance. His arms rested on the edge of the tub while the water rippled around his body, along with the floating herbs. He sat casually in the tub with his legs crossed, giving off a sense of overwhelming charm. Gu Shijio did not say anything, but the servant was obviously awestruck by his charm. She stood with her cheeks flushed. "Leave now," Di Fui commanded, who was standing next to Gu Shijio at the time, giving her support. Her heart started to throb, but she refused to go out. This cannot be. I need to support Miss Gu. She is too weak to sit herself up," she emphasized. Di Fui said nothing more. This time, he aimed to strike at her. He flickered a spell, and a glimpse of light flashed by, carrying the servant straight out of the room. Bang! The door was shut once again. They were the only ones in the room now. Gu Zijia's body was really weak. Without support, she could not even sit up. She collapsed and slowly sank into the water. Luckily, Difui saw it and acted quickly. As soon as the servant was gone, he quickly held Gu Shijio on her shoulders to help her sit upright. He made contact with her bare shoulders and could not help but feel a burning sensation. The temperature of the water was hot, but his palms felt hotter. She could feel the heat slowly entering her veins. Her pale face started to flush crimson as a result of the heat transfer. She felt more awake in the water. Bewildered, she could not help but look at Shen Yinma with a mixture of admiration and frustration. She really could not understand what the child was thinking. He should have known that everything she said was to vent her rage. Instead of disregarding her words, he took them seriously and treated her like his fiancée. In order to carry out the treatment, she risked everything to ask Long Sai for his help. She could not care less about the courtesy between a man and a woman anymore. If the one who came were Long Sai, she would be able to keep calm and cooperate with him. Instead, the one who came in was Shun Yima. Distracted? Difui asked. Gu Shijio looked at him with a sense of helplessness in her eyes. Nianma. Difui let go of her shoulder, and she started sinking again. Her shoulders, neck, chin, and lips slowly went into the water. Before her entire head was covered in water, he raised his hands to support her and keep her head afloat. He was expecting her to be scared and afraid. On the contrary, she never lost her composure. She looked at him as if he was a naughty child. "Call me Fui," he reminded her. Gu Shijio did not want to argue with him. "Fui," before she could finish her sentence, he continued, "You do not have to say anything. I know what you want to tell me. Are you going to say that those were things you said out of anger? And you never really meant them, and that you only see me as a child? A target of your mission?" 007 Gu Shijio blinked her eyes in despair as Difui continued. "Are you going to say that the steps of the triumphant recovery treatment are very complicated and that it is impossible for me to master everything in such a short time? Are you afraid that I'm going to make mistakes at some point of the treatment and also tell me that your injuries are too severe to allow any misjudgment?" Gu Shijio remained quiet, for he had said everything that she wanted to say. Difui gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I have completely mastered the steps. I will not allow anything bad to happen to you." He was a brilliant child and a quick learner, but he never thought that he would master the steps so quickly. It seemed rather natural to him, as though he had already learned the steps ages ago. In fact, Long Sai's explanation served more like a reminder for him to recall everything at once. His eyes met Gu Zijia's eyes again. "I'm not sure about other skills, but with regards to the technique of this medical treatment, I can say that I know even more than General Long." Gu Shijio certainly did not believe his arrogant words. She did not voice out her concerns, but her eyes were obviously filled with doubts. "Wait for it." Difui continued to annoy Gu Shijio. She was fed up with him. She would definitely splash him with water if she had the strength. She should be the one telling him to wait. However, at this very moment, she could not argue with him. He had already soaked his body in the tub next to her, and Long Sai had no other option. She heaved a sigh, surrendering to his dominance. She felt as if she had to return the favors that she owed him from his previous life, which was why the troubles kept coming back at her. "Nianma, if you die, I will get revenge for you." Difui interrupted her. All Gu Shijio wanted to say was that if she died, she would no longer chase him for the mission. He did not give her a chance to finish her sentence. Her chest hurt badly. The pain was unbearable. The color on her face started to fade again, while cold sweats started to break out. Difui supported her shoulder with one hand, and with his other hand, he fed her a red pill. "Come, take it." The pill shone brightly. Surprisingly, the medicine was actually a tablet. It had a rather sweet scent. Gu Shijio knew of many pills, but had never seen this one before. "What is this?" "A rare tablet that is good for your injuries. I have had too many in a day." She was not allowed to eat too many pills in a day, no matter how effective they were. Moreover, different medicines may lead to opposing effects. She was weak, so her body could not withstand the side effects. Don't worry, this tablet will not clash with any other pills, Di Fui reassured her. He seemed to understand her concern, but she still refused to open her mouth. Do you think that I'm going to poison you? He could not help but let out a sarcastic remark. She did not think about him in such a vicious way. She was only worried that he might administer her with the wrong tablet. Gu Shijio sighed. Tell me about its properties. Gu Shijio insisted. Di Fui looked at her again. This tablet was given to me by my father. In times of great danger, the tablet will be able to restore at least half of your strength, as long as you are still alive. Gu Shijio was surprised. She had heard about the medical skills of Shun Juli, who was known as the best doctor in the continent. There was nothing he could not cure. Even when one's soul was broken, he was still able to restore his or her life. The pill from the Divine Lord must be very effective. However, he had given this to his son to keep him safe. About the tablet, how many do you have? Gu Shijio wanted to know. 1. Why? If you give it to me now, what if you need it in the future? Don't worry. I am sure that that day will never come. Stop talking nonsense. Eat it now. Di Fui was unusually confident. He put the tablet into her mouth and demanded, Be good. Take the pill. His tone was as familiar as ever. Gu Shijio was amused and at the same time felt a bit bitter. However, she did not reject his offer this time. She ingested the tablet. The tablet smelled nice, but tasted bad. Gu Zijia's face wrinkled in an ungainly fashion. She took a while to swallow it. By that time, her tongue was already numb from the bad taste. Di Fui took out another sweet and put it into her mouth. It will help soothe the taste. The sweetness finally suppressed the bad taste that lingered at the tip of on her tongue. It was the taste of her favorite sweet, maple sugar. She finally felt better. She looked at him in disbelief. She had certainly not expected that he would prepare everything so thoughtfully. Perhaps it was because he was still young. Every child fancied sweets. What surprised her more was that they both shared the same tastes. Come, let me transfer some spiritual power to help you dissolve the tablet. Di Fui pulled her hands over and covered her palms to make the connection. He then transferred his spiritual power to put the tablet into effect. The tablet was indeed magical. Soon after she swallowed it, she could tell that the tablet was already taking effect. The pain that had been keeping her on edge finally started to fade. Gu Shijio even felt that her damaged organs were beginning to heal themselves. She was suddenly hopeful. Perhaps with the tablet, they would not have to perform the triumphant recovery treatment anymore. She was relieved of the pain and was also mentally more eased. At least she could sit properly in the tub now. She opened her eyes, only to catch Di Fui's unmoving gaze. Her heart skipped a beat. Di Fui had taken his mask off, revealing his true face. His facial features were intricately crafted, looking so surreal. His face must have been the work of God. Features like this were in Auto cause an entire city to fall, which was why he had to wear his mask at all times. Otherwise, he would have to deal with many more unwanted love affairs. His face was so familiar to Gu Shijio. Somehow, she had the irrational impulse of wrapping herself in his arms. Fortunately, that impulse only lasted for a brief second. Soon, her logic took over. How can she shamelessly have a crush on child? Di Fui's pitch-black eyes were looking at her beautiful face fixedly. He seemed distracted too. Their eyes met, and there was a sense of awkwardness in the air. He hesitated a little, then asked a round of insignificant questions. Has the tablet started to take effect? Are you still in pain? Do you want me to transfer more spiritual power to you? Do you still taste the bitterness on your tongue? I still have more sweets. He had been acting arrogantly since he entered the room and spoke sarcastically, but all of a sudden, his attitude changed. He became so caring to her. Gu Shijio did not know how to react to this change. Why did the child change his mind? Her hesitation reminded Di Fui that he might have been a little overwhelming. Suddenly, he moved his body closer to hers and gave her a smile. Are you attracted by my beauty? Are you touched? His smile did not seem entirely innocent. He was teasing her. Because they were so close, she could feel his warm breaths on her face. Gu Shijio was rather confused at this time. Gu Shijio pushed his face back and said, your face is indeed a work of art. I feel like I have lost myself in your overwhelming beauty. However, you are young. It is not an appropriate time to flirt. Early maturity does no good to you. Di Fui was utterly surprised. He was distracted by Gu Zijia's appearance, mostly because he somehow felt that her face seemed familiar. He noticed that his heartbeat was irregular every time he looked at her. It was as though he had admired her beauty many years ago. The greater surprise was that he could feel an involuntary erection while getting caught in her beauty. Having dedicated his entire life to growth and practice, Di Fui had never felt the urge in this sort of sexual need. He almost forgot that he actually needed it. He did not expect that such a mysterious woman would give him this sort of reaction. He had traveled the world and encountered female celestial beings who would try to seduce him. Some were brave and open. They had even stripped themselves naked to show off their bare bodies in front of him. However, it gave him no response. Instead, he was disgusted. Before the women could get closer, he had already pushed them far away. These sexy women could not even get him interested. Although Gu Shijio was naked, most of her body was submerged in the water. Furthermore, there was a layer of floating herbs on the surface, so he could not see the rest of her body. She cared about her decency, so she only revealed her shoulders and a small part of her chest above the water. Logically, this restricted view should not be able to excite him. However, it had already happened twice. When their eyes met, he had to bring up a conversation to cover his awkwardness. Fortunately, her response did not make him feel so awkward anymore. Young? The woman must be thinking that he was still a child. He smiled at her and put his arm on her shoulder. Young? Are you sure? Baffled, Gu Shijio was anxious when he made skin contact. She could feel the warmth of his skin. In fact, it was rather hot now. Her eyes darkened when she looked at him. Like an attraction, she felt as though she was pulled closer and closer into his eyes. The child always liked to act like an adult to prevent others from thinking that he was still young. Smartly, Gu Shijio chose not to trigger him anymore. She had to prevent him from rebelling. Moreover, their conversation in the wooden tubs was rather strange. Things would easily go astray. She coughed. Fui, thank you for the tablet. I am feeling much better now. There is no need to perform the triumphant recovery treatment anymore. I would suggest that you leave the room. She felt that she should get dressed. Obviously, she wanted to change the topic. Di Fui thought about it and knew that it was not the right time to argue with her. He studied her expressions and placed his fingers on her wrist to read her pulse. A few moments later, he had to be honest with her. The tablet can only stop the condition of your organs from worsening. We still need to use spiritual power to fix your wounds. You should try to utilize your spiritual power. Gu Shijio tried to use her spiritual power, only to realize that her veins were still blocked. The pain was overwhelming. Since you are so experienced in the field of medicine, I think you can conquer the world even without Master Feng Xing's help. Thank you for the compliment, Di Fui answered with a smile. Are you more comfortable with me now? Shall we begin? Gu Shijio closed her eyes in approval. Yes, please. She raised her palms, giving him a sign that she trusted him. Dumbstruck, Di Fui smiled. He raised his palms to make a connection with her. You have to try to have faith in me. It will be good for your recovery. I believe in you. Gu Shijio did not hesitate this time. The best result could only be achieved when both the healer and patient trusted each other. At the beginning of the treatment, Gu Shijio was a little bit uneasy. She was a little bit cautious when she was working with his spiritual power. She was holding back in case he made a mistake so that she could have time to correct the errors. However, when they completed a quarter of the treatment, she was utterly relieved. Di Fui was entirely on point. His movements were more flawless than Gu Zijia's. He was indeed a crazily smart child. Gu Shijio silently sighed in her heart. Finally, she could let go of all her worries and fully cooperate with him. There were many bubbles in the tubs where two of them sat in, and the potion was spinning around them. Meanwhile, the medicine slowly seeped into her blood through her skin. Her damaged organs were slowly starting to reform again. It was already in the afternoon, and Long Sai was standing in the courtyard. He had almost become a fossil, waiting for the two of them to emerge from his residence. He knew that the healing process would take at least 8 hours. Anything could happen in these 8 hours. If Di Fui missed a step or made a mistake, he would go in and rescue Gu Shijio. Hence, he waited here. He used to think that Gu Zijia would absolutely refuse to let Di Fui heal her due to her generally precautious nature. Long Sai had an agreement with Di Fui earlier that if Gu Shijio strongly opposed him to carry out the treatment, then Di Fui would need to leave and allow Long Sai to take over. Therefore, Long Sai waited eagerly outside for an hour, but there was no such occurrence. Although the soundproofing in the room was good, Long Sai was a highly skilled man. If he really paid attention, he could even hear a silent yawn from the inside. Gu Shijio was indeed quite uneasy with Di Fui, but she did not reject him. After talking for a while, she had let Di Fui heal her. This made Long Sai feel a little bit disappointed. He felt as if she had somehow treated the son of the Divine Lord and Great Devil differently. He looked down at his hand and sighed softly. He was also a genius and a hard-working individual. However, he was still not able to catch up with a 6-year-old child. There was indeed a big gap. His servant served him a cup of tea. Long Sai picked up the cup and looked at her. The servant was the maid who helped Gu Shijio change. After she was thrown out, although it was a bit embarrassing, she did not leave. She used various reasons to come back. At that moment, the servant's gaze fell on the door of the room. "Do you like that, man?" Long Sai asked unexpectedly. The servant was stunned. She immediately kneeled, and her face was flushed. No need to lie in front of me. You could tell me the truth. You have come and gone 6 times now. Do you think I can't see what's in your mind?" The servant was stunned for a moment and finally admitted, "The young man is really attractive. I know that I am wrong." She was starstruck by the man. Long Sai's gloomy eyes fell on her. He slowly said, "What if I tell you that he is just a 6-year-old boy?" The servant was stunned. Her mouth was ajar, but she could not say anything. Long Sai calmly looked at her. "So, would you still like him? Would you be willing to be his servant? Or even marry him?" The servant snorted. No, she was really fascinated by the young man, but she did not intend to be with a kid. She was an ordinary girl, not a pedophile. Nonetheless, this young man seemed to be an adult. How could he just be 6 years old? Long Sai faintly said, "Maybe he deliberately transformed to look like an adult. I am not sure of his true appearance. Perhaps he is just too eager to grow up." Long Sai stared at her for a while before he smirked. "So, what is your plan of action? Are you going to give up?" The servant said, "General, you must be kidding. Regardless of whether this young man is an adult or a child, I have no other thoughts about him." Long Sai seemed to be somewhat satisfied. "It is good to know." He then waved his hand to dismiss her. "Go back now. Do not tell anyone about today's matter. If you divulge a sentence, I will definitely punish you." The servant promised, turned, and left. She did not come back again. Long Sai's mood was a lot better. He sat down at a stone table and waited patiently. Inside the room, Di Fui finally completed the healing process. He looked at Gu Zijia's pretty face and asked, "How do you feel?" Gu Shijio opened her eyes and took a breath. A lot better. Her pretty face was terribly pale before, but now there was a faint blush on her cheek. With her watery eyes, she looked back at him. "Nian, Fui, thank you." She was too weak to sit in the barrel before, but now she finally had some strength and could slowly use her spiritual power. Di Fui smiled. "You don't have to be so polite with me. I wouldn't have saved you without a request." Gu Shijio was stunned. "What is it that you want? Just say it out." As long as it was within her ability, she would fulfill any request from him. Di Fui looked at her and spoke. "Are you planning to talk to me while you are still in the water? Then perhaps you should leave first. We will talk later." She had been soaked in this potion for the whole day. She felt like she was going to wrinkle. This treatment took a full 6 hours, and her legs were numb under the water. At this point, she desperately wanted to sleep. Since she was quite tired as a patient, she could imagine how exhausted Di Fui was as the healer. Gu Shijio looked at his slightly pale face and was not at ease. "Are you too tired? You can ask General Long to send a few servants to come and carry you out." "No, I don't want outsiders to see me like this." After the Di Fui finished talking, he controlled the wooden barrel and moved out of the quiet room. The door closed again, leaving Gu Shijio alone. A moment later, a servant took another bucket of clean water into the room, and so that Gu Shijio could take a bath. Gu Shijio was still a bit weak. She was sweating profusely despite taking a shower. She then sat on the bed and waited for Di Fui to come in and raise his demand with her. Unexpectedly, Long Sai came in instead. He carefully observed her and was relieved. "Shijio, your appearance looks a lot better now." He raised his hand and checked her pulse. His tone was more relaxed now. "Your pulse is also a lot stronger." Gu Shijio had already checked her own pulse just now, so she naturally knew her condition. Nevertheless, she smiled in acknowledgement of his care. Chapter 2012. He came to settle the account. "I have received a second chance at life," Gu Shijio said to Long Sai to lighten the mood. She then looked at Long Sai's slightly reddened eyes and remarked, "Did you not sleep at all?" It was already the next evening since Gu Shijio came to Long Sai's residence. Long Sai smiled and did not answer her question. Instead, he asked, "Shijio, are you hungry? I have prepared porridge that is easy to digest. Do you want to swallow a few mouthfuls?" Gu Shijio shook her head. Although she had not been eating for nearly a day, she did not have the appetite yet. She only felt tired now and wanted to take a rest. "Where is he?" Gu Shijio asked bluntly. Long Sai was slightly stunned by her question. He said, "He went out to get the cure for you. If you want to recover completely, you must have the cure from spiritual master Shanjing." Gu Shijio was startled. She quickly said, "Why is it so urgent? He just utilized a lot of spiritual power. What he needs is rest. Moreover, it is quite a distance from here to Fengyan Valley." Long Sai was visibly upset. "This is what he promised before, and you can't delay your healing. You can only recover as soon as you get the cure." Gu Shijio frowned. Long Sai's residence was 1,000 miles away from the Fengyan Valley. Di Fui had to travel back and forth in such an exhausted state. This kid was really sincere. If she did not agree with his demand, he would be wasting his effort. Furthermore, this trip to ask for the cure would not be easy. After all, she almost shattered the most important body part of spiritual master Shanjing. Suddenly, Gu Shijio thought of something and asked, "How long ago did he leave? I can actually give him some bargain chips." She took out a peach-colored snake from her storage space and extracted some snake poison out. She then put it in a small bottle and handed it to Long Sai. "Instructor Long, I need to trouble you to send someone to pass him this bottle." Long Sai was confused. "What is this?" Gu Shijio waved her hand to dismiss his question. "I will explain it to you later. He will understand once he sees it." Long Sai took the bottle of snake poison and left. Spiritual Master Shanjing was still in the Fengyan Valley. Normally, he would leave early. However, this time he could not. His balls were so badly hurt that he could hardly walk. Hence, he had to stay back to treat his wounds. Fortunately, Master Fengxing was a credible doctor, and he was very good at treating this sort of injury. Nonetheless, it was still a bit awkward. This body part of the body was private, and it was improper to be shown to an outsider. Therefore, he only consumed medication orally. Sadly, that slowed down his recovery. Suffering this type of pain for a prolonged period gave him many opportunities to curse Gu Shijio. He felt guilty for having killed her because of that matter. At the same time, Shin Yimma wanted to break up with his 10 masters because of this girl. If he found her corpse, he was not sure what Shin Yimma would do to him. All of a sudden, a few disciples flew in and reported, "Master, Shin Yimma has returned." Spiritual Master Shanjing's face turned pale and serious. What should he do now? The girl must have died, and he is here to settle the account. The return of Shin Yimma caused a sensation in the Fengyan Valley. The four masters who remained, along with their disciples, were all alarmed. Therefore, when Di Fui entered, he was immediately surrounded. Spiritual Master Shanjing looked at him like a traitor. Nianma, why are you back? Chapter 2013. What kind of trade do you want to talk about? In his heart, Master Fengxing hoped that Shen Nianma was here to ask for forgiveness. Di Fui wore a mask on his face, so they could not tell his facial expression clearly. However, his light pink lips slightly smirked. Master Fengxing, I'm not looking for you. Master Fengxing was speechless. Apparently, Di Fui did not recognize him as his teacher. Furiously, Master Fengxing questioned, Why are you here then? Di Fui was very straightforward. I want to make a trade. Master Fengxing grew even angrier. What kind of trade? Do you want to trade masters? Nianma, nobody in the world would bargain with their master for a trade. Others from the crowd had also voiced their opinions. Di Fui was rather calm and cold. It is only Spiritual Master Yu Hang who has actually taught me any skills among all of you. The crowd remained silent. He was right. Spiritual Master Yu Hang was proud, but just when he was about to talk, he was interrupted by Di Fui. I have learned 4 skills from Spiritual Master Yu Hang, and I have completely improved the 4 skills by correcting the loopholes to make it even better. Spiritual Master Yu Hang, am I right? Spiritual Master Yu Hang could not deny it. After Shen Nianma improved the 4 skills, his power was doubled. Moreover, he did not hide it, but taught the 4 improved methods to the other disciples, so that his younger apprentice brothers and sisters could practice better. The original techniques needed to take a year to master. After his added improvements, they could be learned in 2 months. Nianma, you have merits to the apprenticeship. Spiritual Master Yu Hang sighed in agreement. Is my merit worth you teaching me the 4 skills? Spiritual Master Yu Hang was stunned and said, Of course. In fact, he still earned to have Shen Nianma as his disciple, because it made his name even more famous. Therefore, I don't owe you anything. I have already stated openly that I won't join your apprenticeship anymore. Why can't I discuss a trade deal? Everyone was stunned with Di Fui's reply. What trade do you want to talk about? Spiritual Master Yu Hang could not help but ask. Di Fui stretched out of his palm, and a small bottle shone under the sunlight. This is the poison from the peach snake. I want to trade it for the cure for the golden splitting spell from Spiritual Master Shanjing. Everyone remained silent. Spiritual Master Shanjing blurted, Is the evil girl still alive? When he mentioned the evil girl, his balls suddenly hurt. Di Fui's gaze fell on his face. She is the person I value the most. Please respect her. Spiritual Master Shanjing was speechless. This evil girl used an immoral attack. Di Fui frowned. Apparently, Gu Shijio did not tell him about the fact she kicked Spiritual Master Shanjing's balls. Thus he was puzzled by this statement. He looked at Spiritual Master Shanjing once again to try to understand. Di Fui was a skilled medical practitioner. Therefore, he noticed that the standing posture of Spiritual Master Shanjing was not right. It seemed like he got kicked in an important part of his body. Di Fui silently sighed in his heart. No wonder Gu Shijio did not put much hope in asking for the cure. Was she so fierce? How did she even kick this part? Di Fui paused for a while. He then threw a bottle over to Spiritual Master Shanjing. Soak in the water with this medicine. It can heal your injury in 3 days. Spiritual Master Shanjing's face was red, but he still held the bottle in his hand. He knew that most of the medicines from Di Fui were secret medicines from the Divine Lord, and they were all very effective. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.